Hi there, it's Tessa with Hip Over 50. So if you've been watching my channel, may know that I was born here in England, but so despite my American accent, I do feel like I'm British. And I have kind of a unique perspective on life here because I've been gone for a long, long time. I like to say the chick has come home to roost. So I've come back to live in England, and this is what this channel is all about. So I have been fascinated by all the different culture tweaks, quirks, whatever that exists here in the United Kingdom, and I thought you might be too. So let's carry on. Today I'm going to talk about 9 fascinating facts about life in the UK. So number one is if you're a reader, a writer, or a lover of books, well, you'll be very happy here because 2022 was a 10-year high in the number of bookstores operating in the UK. In fact, there's a bookstore for every 63,000 people. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot, but UK residents read an average of 10 books a year, whereas Americans are more like 4 books a year. So that is probably why bookshops are so patronized. Of course, it could be something to do with the fact that there's usually a cafe in there, so you can have a cup of tea and a slice of cake while you're browsing. Number 2, speaking of popular spots, well, there's about 60,000 pubs in the UK, with, of course, the majority, I think about 53,000 in England. And by the way, pub is short for public house, if you didn't know. Surprisingly, there's never been a prohibition here, as there was famously in the 20th century, early 20th century in the US, and alcohol sales are not banned anywhere, at least as of now. There's been a few bans here and there, but nothing in place right now. If you've grown up in the U.S. and you're familiar with, restricted alcohol sales or certainly dry counties, I lived in Texas where entire counties would be dry, then you'd be pleased to know that you can buy alcohol just about anywhere you want here. There's also the oldest public house is in St Albans, England, and that is built circa 1600, so that is pretty old. It's called Ye Olde Fighting Cocks. And St Albans, by the way, also lays claim to having the most pubs in England, in that town. Number 3 on my list, and this is not connected in any way to the number of pubs, but did you know that you can buy Viagra, or I think as they say here, Viagra, and birth control or contraceptive pills over the counter at your local chemist? That is quite convenient. So I don't know if that was intentional, but if it was, somebody had a good idea. Number 4 on my list, well, thanks to a 2012 tax credit, the UK is the movie capital of the world right now. I mean, from The Lord of the Rings, Mission Impossible, Ted Lasso, let's not even talk about Harry Potter, etc., etc. Netflix, Amazon, and Apple are pumping billions of dollars into the UK film industry. In fact, I read somewhere that in a few years, the film production here, the numbers will outpace film production in Hollywood, which is pretty incredible. What did you think of Ted Lasso? I thought it was pretty cute. I really enjoyed it. And I hear it's put Richmond on the map. Let's not forget Ryan Reynolds, who reinvigorated the Wrexham Football Club in Wales. And it's another place that's been put on the map due to the popularity of that show. Number 5 on my list is, well, you can't come to England or the UK without talking about sport because it's very popular here, as it is in a lot of countries. But hey, we invented 4 of the most popular sporting events in the world. Golf, soccer, cricket, and tennis were all invented here in the UK. Of course, we have the oldest and most iconic golf course in the world, St Andrews in Scotland, and our annual Wimbledon, the tennis tournament, which I believe is going on right now. It is the oldest tennis tournament in the world. Cricket has only been around for about 114 years, so they're actually getting pretty good at it. And the Ashes tournament, which has been played between England and Australia since 1882, is also currently on the go. So number 6 on my list, well, you've heard of afternoon tea. That is a quintessential English institution, isn't it? Well, it's not actually been around that long, but we have the 7th Duchess of Bedford to thank for it. She was a girl after my own heart. Dinners were getting later and later, and she just couldn't wait. So she started the habit of having a cup of tea, some sandwiches, and cake in the afternoon with her ladies. And as her best pal was Queen Victoria, it caught on pretty quickly. And fortunately, the Earl of Sandwich had just invented putting butter between two slices of bread, so she has him to thank for that. So that is one more notch in the Victorian era's crown, I think. Afternoon tea, we all love it, even if it's just a cup of tea and a couple of biscuits. So number 7 on my list. Well, we can't talk about what's fabulous about the United Kingdom without speaking about Scotch whiskey. You may know that you can't call whiskey Scotch unless it's been distilled in Scotland. And exports of Scotch whiskey to the world totaled £6 billion in 2022 last year. So that is pretty incredible. And surprisingly, the US is the second biggest fan of Scotch whiskey after the French. Who wouldn't think? Although Americans top the list of single malt drinkers, they have good taste. So Mr. Biden lifted the tariffs on Scotch whiskey just in time. Number 8 on my list. Well, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce any Welsh names. Even though my mother was from Abergavenny, I don't even begin to try to speak the language. But did you know that Wales has more castles per square mile than any other country in the world? That is pretty impressive. And the largest is Caerphilly Castle. I did say that right, I think. It is a land of castles with 427 still standing. So that's pretty impressive. On the death of his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, Prince William became Prince of Wales, which is the most senior title behind the monarch. So that is well done, Wales. 9, and last but least on the list of fabulous things about English life is, have you heard of an Ulster fry? No, it's not what you think. It's not. It's what's for breakfast in Ireland. Now, if you thought I butchered the word pedantic, you haven't heard me say breakfast yet. Bear with me. So, fry-ups are breakfast is another term for a proper breakfast here. So, a breakfast in the United Kingdom, depending on which country you're in, you can vary. But ideally, most breakfasts include bacon, sausage, fried egg, beans, fried bread, potatoes in some incarnation or other, tomatoes, and mushrooms. Now, if you're in Ireland and you're having an Ulster fry-up, that may also include a portion of black pudding. Although I seem to think black pudding is not just a regional thing. I swear I've seen it on a menu, further north from here. But in Scotland, you may also have a helping of haggis on your English breakfast, or then it would be a Scottish breakfast. So there's nothing like a full English, and that is the name we call an English breakfast. It truly will set you up for the rest of the day. So we may not agree on the contents of an English breakfast, but we can certainly all agree that it should be washed down with a large pot of tea. Made properly, of course. So there you go. Those are 9 of some of the most fun, fascinating facts I could find about England and the United Kingdom, of course. United Kingdom, by the way, is England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So come on over. And of course, if you have any comments, please put them below. And thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. See you on the next one. Bye for now.